Well, I'm back. It's been a while since I've appeared on camera, but I decided to come back. Uh, this is my review of last night's Finding Bigfoot, the season premiere, which was actually pretty good. They traveled to Idaho to investigate the Mink Creek footage, which was taken by 3 high school students in the winter of 2011. And I remember seeing that footage on the internet a few months ago, several months ago actually. And it's an interesting bit of footage that Jeff Meldrum looked at and said, or thought, that it certainly looks like it could have been a Sasquatch. The principal cast members interviewed the 3 high school students, the ones who took the footage, and Matt was pretty convinced that it was a Squatch, and so was Bobo. I'm not sure if Cliff. I don't think Cliff ever gave it his seal of approval. Renee, of course, was the skeptic on the whole thing. She thought that it might have been a hoax, but she also pointed out that she did not believe that the 3 boys were in on the hoax if it was a hoax. And there was also a photograph of a footprint that was taken, and the team members thought that the footprint looked kind of strange to them. Didn't really look like it didn't really look like it matched other footprints and other footprint casts. So there was a bit of uncertainty about that. Well, eventually they did a night operation in that area, but didn't get anything. So Renee decided to camp out in that area overnight, or I think for a few days. And she actually, interestingly enough, found some kind of a footprint. What kind of a footprint, I don't know. May have been a Sasquatch footprint, may have been a bear, or perhaps a boot. Although the other members of the team, when they saw the photograph, they thought, well, no, that looks like a Squatch footprint. And Renee decided not to cast it. I think she photographed it, though. It was a very interesting photograph of a footprint. Well, the rest of the team, they did a town hall meeting in which they interviewed, or actually they had a few people raise their hand and say that they'd seen a Sasquatch. 2 of them were interviewed in the areas that they saw the Sasquatches in. And one of them actually, I think, had a photograph of what appeared to be footprints. And very interesting stuff. And then they actually they took they went to Dr. Jeff Meldrum's lab in Pocatello, Idaho, which I think is not very far from Mink Creek, and they showed him the footage, and of course he gave it his seal of approval. He thought that there was a good possibility that it was authentic, that it was actual footage of a Sasquatch. He was also shown the photograph of the footprint, the one that was taken in the snow right around the time of the footage, after the footage was shot. And he looked at it. He said, you know, it really does. It matches some of the footprint casts that I have in my collection. So he gave that his seal of approval as well. Now, at the beginning of the episode, we saw Renee actually act as the Sasquatch, or stand in for the Sasquatch, rather than Bobo. She climbed to the top of the hill, and it only took her 15 minutes to get up there, and she surmised that there was a possibility that the footage was a hoax, because it didn't take her very long to climb that hill. She said, if I could climb the hill like that, then the hoaxer could as well. So, but again, you know, the footage is ambiguous at best. It's very ambiguous, and They also did night operations again near the end of the episode. They got something on thermal. But they don't know what it was. Bobo thinks it might have been a baby squatch, or juvenile squatch, I should say. Cliff wasn't so sure. Cliff actually climbed the very tree that they saw this thermal in. He thought, well, maybe it was a raccoon or something, a smaller animal, maybe a bear. Would have had to have been a fairly larger bear, or at least a juvenile-sized bear. Also, one thing they did during the episode, which was interesting, I don't know how much attraction it got. They did something. They did a rave in the forest where they had blinking lights and loud music and everything like that going. That was what attracted whatever was in that tree. Something was attracted. I don't know what, but some creature or some animal was attracted by all that noise and all the lights and everything going off. So, I mean, they felt that it was a good trip, and they felt that that even though they didn't see anything and that they didn't find anything, they still considered it a pretty successful trip. And if I were to rank this episode on a scale from 1 to 10, I'd give it about let's say a 6.5. Next week, I saw the previews for next week. They're going to go to Vermont. And Vermont has a very rich history of Sasquatch activity. They're also going to examine the Vermont trail cam photograph that came out, I guess, a year and a half ago. And that should prove to be quite interesting. So that will be airing next week on Animal Planet, 10 Eastern, 9 Central. Check your local listings for time and channel.